All right, thanks for taking this class today. You're taking the basic Google Mail class, so we will go over just kind of the basics of what will make your day-to-day job a little bit easier. And so if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, we have the advanced course that you can take a little bit later. So I have a presentation that says basically everything that I'm going to say here, and then it will also go over, it will also go over a screencast, so you will be able to kind of see exactly what I do in terms of the clicks that I make even a little bit closer. So if you are in Google Chrome, which is probably the recommended browser, you can just open a new tab, and when you open a new tab, some of your account information pops up here if you're signed in. And to get to Mail, it's actually easier than any other app because Mail has an option right here. So I can just click that, and it brings me to my mailbox. So just to go over a couple things in your mailbox, at the very top you see a search bar. So if you're looking for an email about a particular student, you can type in that student's name, and it will bring up every email that's in your inbox, that might be in a folder, in your trash can, that involves that student. So hopefully you can find your email. Where you see Mail here, and this would be covered in the advanced part, but just so you're aware of it, that it's there. There's options to switch to contacts and tasks, which is like a to-do list. And then just kind of continuing going through the top here, right here, if you select that, all your emails get selected so you can quickly delete them all or move them to a folder or whatever you need to do. Here's a reload, so if somebody says, hey, I just sent you an email, check it. You can hit this refresh button without having to refresh the whole page. And then if I select an email, notice my toolbar has a lot more options to it. The first one that you see is archive, so you can archive an email that you need to refer to later. The second one is spam. Third one is a trash can, so that's how you delete it. And then you have this kind of this folder and this label thing, and those are kind of one and the same. I'll show you later how to make a folder, but you can put your emails in a folder or in labels or whatever it might be. And then when I click more, you have multiple options here. So I've selected an email that I've already read, but if it was something where I wanted to come back to it later, I could mark it as unread. You can mark it as important or not important. Google actually has some sort of algorithm that if they see it's from a certain person or if it has certain keywords in the actual email, they will mark it important for you. You can turn that setting off. If it's an email that says you need to take care of this, you can add it to your tasks list or your to-do list. You can add a star to it, which is basically the same thing as making it important. The star is right here, so if I click that, there's my star. Makes it stand out a little bit more. If I unclick it, it's gone. And then filtering, that's something that you would cover in the advanced course. That's not really something you need day to day. And then mute the conversation. If you've ever been in like a group text message and you felt like, I just want to get out of this, it's kind of the same idea here. If you're in a group email and it no longer involves you anymore, you can mute it and you just won't get updates when there's a new email from somebody in that group. Excuse me. So just continuing moving down here, if you have more than 25 emails, they start going on different pages. And so if you need to kind of cycle through your pages of emails, that's what those arrows are for. And then of course the gear symbol is your settings. We'll cover a couple things in the settings later. So with email, obviously the biggest thing that you're going to be doing is responding to or sending emails. Okay? And I'll just cover the responding to an email first. So select the email that you would want to respond to. And if you hit this arrow button, that's the reply button. If I hit the drop-down menu next to it, I have a lot more options, like if I need to reply all. There's some other messages, some other options there, but again, that's not something those aren't really anything you need on a day-to-day basis. So you would either want to hit reply or reply all, and then you can reply to the sender of the original email. If you want to compose your email, you can do this from any screen. So even if I'm here and I want to write a new email, I just hit compose and it pops up right here for me. Okay? Or if I'm on my home page, so just go back to my inbox and I want to compose from there, it pops up for me right in the same spot. So to compose an email, You need to obviously select who it's to, type in a name or an email address. And then for us, we have two different emails. We have our 277 apps, and then we have our West Tonka. Administration would prefer that you use the West Tonka email, especially with parent communication. Just looks a little bit more professional than the 277 apps, but you do have the option to choose whichever one you want. And then on the right side, you see CC and BCC. CC stands for carbon copy, BCC stands for blind carbon copy. There's only a slight difference between the two. So carbon copy is, let's say you're emailing a student and you want his parents maybe to be cued in on what's going on. So you email, in the to field, you put the student's email, but then in the carbon copy or the CC field, you put the parent's email. And this just kind of lets them know that this email isn't to you necessarily, but it's something that you should be aware of. If you put anything in the CC field, the student can then see who their parent is, the student can then see that their parent is included in the email if you use the carbon copy field. If you want to do kind of that same thing, but you don't want the student to know that the parents weren't included, use the blind carbon copy field. The blind carbon copy just means that the student can't see who else the email was sent to. And so that's blind carbon copy. Then you have your subject line. Email etiquette and professionalism would say include a subject line in your email. And then below here, you see a bunch of different text editing. So you can change the size of the text, the font, the color, bold, italicized, underline. If you have a list of things, you could make it a bullet-pointed list or a numbered list. So it has a lot of the features that maybe like a Word document would have there. If I go another row lower, you see a send button. So obviously once you're done, you can hit that send button. And then next to that, you have your text editing button. You have the attachments button. So if you have something that you need to attach that's on your desktop, you hit the little paper clip and your desktop comes up and you can attach something like that. You have the Google Drive symbol, which is the same idea, except maybe it's not on your desktop, it's in your Google Drive, and so you can click through your Google Drive to find a document to attach that way. You have the image, which is basically the same thing, but it just brings up images from your Google Drive that you can use. And then you have this chain link, which is a hyperlink. A hyperlink is if you want, in your email, you want to have your recipients go to access a certain website. You can send them a web URL. Now, a lot of websites, like think of our West Tonka Public Schools address. It's kind of sloppy looking just because it's a URL. And so what you can do is you can copy that URL, put it right into here, but then to make it a little bit more professional, in this box, you can write what you actually want the text to display. So instead of displaying the URL, you can click up here and maybe just write West Tonka homepage. And so in the email, that'll look a lot more professional than just having a URL plopped in there. You have emojis, and then next to that you have the trash can. So if you are starting to type an email, then realize you don't have to send it, you just hit the trash can and it goes away. Now one thing that Google does, which is kind of a nice little feature, if I start typing an email, and I get stuck in the middle of it, I was trying to send it before class started, I couldn't get that far. This automatically saves every like 5 seconds or so. So, bell rings, I didn't get my email done, I have to exit out. In my drafts over here, later in the day I have 5 minutes, I can write my email, it pops up just exactly how I had it. And that does it automatically. You don't have to hit save or anything like that. It automatically saves. And again, you decide you don't want it, hit the trash can, and you're done. Right? So that's kind of the basics of composing a message. Essentially just hit the compose button, and it's pretty self-explanatory from there. So you have your inbox. That's your main mailbox. Next option down is your sent mail. So if you're looking for an email that you sent previously, that will be in the sent mail folder. Your drafts folder, so any emails that you've started but haven't sent. Your your trash, the emails that you've deleted, are right there. And then after that, you just have all those, so you see I have a bunch more options. Those are different folders that I've created, and I'll show you how to do that here in a little bit. Just moving further down, and this would be more of an advanced thing, but I'll just kind of explain why that's there. Down here, you do have the option to, instead of emailing somebody, sending them like a Google chat. And so, recently I've talked to Amanda Bruckner, our attendance lady, on Google Chat, just to check in real quick about a particular student who was late that didn't show up with a pass. And so the nice thing about that Google Chat is that it'll just send up a little blip to Miss Bruckner's desk, and if that happens, it'll kind of give her a little noise, and her tab will be lighting up, and so she can just respond to it real quick. Sometimes that's just a little bit more efficient than sending an email. Okay. So that's kind of the basics of just how to operate your mail. Now the next thing I want to go over is a few particular settings. So if you hit the gear symbol, go down to settings, you have a lot of options here. A lot of these are going to be covered in the advanced Gmail class. So if you have interest in some of this other stuff, that's where you can learn about that. In your settings, you can change your language, can change different preferences so that they better suit what you want. That's something that, maybe one day when you have time, just kind of play around with it and see, what you like better, what you don't. A couple things that our district expects out of us. If you go about 2/3 of the way down the settings tab, or the general settings tab, there's an option to add a signature. That is something that our district does kind of expect us to do, is to have a signature at the end of our email. And really it makes it easier, because instead of having to sign off every email as Mr. Lenz or whatever, this signature does that for you. So in your signature, at the very least, you should have your name and your main role at the high school. Believe it or not, some parents, you'll send them an email and some parents won't know what do you teach, what teacher are you. So for mine, I have Matthew Lenz is right at the top. I'm a math teacher, JV baseball coach, and 7th grade basketball coach. So typically you would put your different titles as well. I would say bare minimum, first name, last name, and your main position at the school. Okay? And that will automatically show up on every email that you send. At the very bottom of the General Settings tab, you have the Vacation Responder. That's like the auto reply. So if you've ever sent an email and gotten a reply back within a few minutes that says, "I'm out of the office today," that's what this is. And again, this is another expectation over summer break for sure. If you're going on a vacation over winter break or spring break, it would probably be recommended as well that you put up some sort of email that if a parent emails you, they get a response almost right away that says, "Hey, I'm not around my email, I'll email you when I get back." And so to give you that example, my email from the summer says, "Hello, I will be periodically checking my email over summer break and will respond to you as soon as I can. Thanks." So that just tells parents that, don't expect an email today, maybe tomorrow, it might be a week before I email you back. And that's just something nice to do so that your parents kind of can expect not to hear from you right away. Okay, so that's under General and down into the settings. Last thing I want to show you is how to make a folder. Google doesn't call them folders, they call them labels, and it's right next to the General Settings. You go to Labels. Okay? Now, in the labels, they have some defaults for you, like the ones I went over, inbox, sent mail, drafts. You can show and hide those as much as you want. So I have like starred and important. Those are hidden because I don't really use those features in Google. But if I want to make my own folder, I go down to the bottom of the page where it says create a new label. That's how you're going to create a folder. You just click that button and it brings this up. It says enter a new label name, so enter whatever you want. So like I have a folder for baseball. This is where I would type in baseball and then I would hit create. Now I've created a folder, and so if I get an email about baseball that I want to keep in mind for later, instead of deleting it or instead of keeping it in my inbox, I'm going to move it to that folder and refer to it later. Okay? those are the basics of what you'd want to do. I would say even creating folders you might view as not something that you need to do, but I know a lot of people like to stay organized in that way. Again, everything that we went over, I know we had to go quick because of the limited amount of time that we have. Everything that I went over is going to be in a screencast on the West Tonka Technology Institute website. It's going to be, this presentation is being filmed, so that will go on the website. And then my Google presentation that I started off with, that will be on the website as well. So if you have any questions, those are 3 options. You can just ask me right away. Again, sorry for rushing through it, just trying to get it in time. We do have a few extra minutes, so if there are any questions, I can take those now. Otherwise, you have a few minutes until the next class starts.